who will be leading the session. Welcome, Minister. Also joining this briefing today is the Department's Director General, Mr. Gwebs Konde. DG, you're welcome. Alongside him is Mr. Firoz Patel, who is the DDG for TVET Colleges branch. Oh, welcome anyway, DDG. My apologies. And representing NSFAS today is the Chief Information Officer, Mr. Richard McKinnon-Little. You're welcome, sir. We also welcome Professor Ahmed Bawa, who is here on capacity as the CEO for USAF. Prof, you're welcome. And we are also graced with the presence of the President of South African College Principals Union, Umamu Helen Ntatling. You're welcome, ma'am. And last but not least is the SAU's Secretary General, Thembiso Ndlovu. You're welcome, sir. A quick reminder also that we will be joined by our Cape Town journalists via a video link from the GCIS Imbizo Media Center in Parliament. There's going to be two sessions. The first session consists of a short briefing, which will be led by the Honorable Minister, which will be followed by a media Q&A. So without any further ado, I would like to hand over the reins to the Honorable Minister, Dr. Blade Nzimande. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Program Manager. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you very much for making it to this media conference. I've been continuing with my regular meetings with a range of higher education stakeholders, including university student leaders, university vice chancellors, as well as the executive of the South African College Principals Organization, SACPO. I call them SACPO, representing the principals of technical and vocational education and training colleges, as well as the Technical Vocational Education and Training College Governors Council, representing TVET college councils, to discuss preparations for the academic year. I had also further attempted to meet the South African Further Education and Training Students Association, SAFETA, representing TVET college students. Before this press briefing, however, they were unable to meet me as they are engaged in a campaign to raise their issues. Nevertheless, we have agreed to meeting them tomorrow on the 27th of January. These important engagements have imbued me with much confidence about the prospects for higher education this year, amid early suggestions that many of the challenges which affected our sector in 2016, including the issues of fees and student access, are being addressed substantially. In this regard, I want to reiterate the importance of continuing open dialogue among stakeholders and the need for them to work together to ensure stability in the system. In my engagements thus far, stakeholders have discussed the need for the country to ensure over the medium to long term that post-school education and training is funded at an appropriate level, and that sufficient financial aid is made available to support all academically deserving, financially needy and college students through loans, grants, and bursaries, while keeping student fees affordable. We also discussed a number of interventions needed to assist students who come from poor and working class families, including the so-called missing middle, that is, those students who come from families with income levels above the NSFAS threshold, but who cannot afford post-school education. The processes for applying for the 2017 fee adjustment grant up to a cap of 8% was also discussed, with my department committing to releasing a significant portion of this grant to universities and colleges in the first quarter of the year to assist them with the cash flow challenges that they face. We also wish to inform you that NSFAS has already paid 1.3 billion rands to our 26 public universities and TVET colleges, an advance payment for registration fees for students from disadvantaged backgrounds so that they can be admitted for their 2017 studies without any upfront payment. All this will assist universities and colleges to pay their operational costs in the first quarter of the year and thereby help with cash flow management at the institutional level. On the matter of historic debt, broad agreement was reached with universities and colleges to ensure humane and transparent debt management and relief processes to assist academically successful students so that they can register in 2017 where this is possible. We also discussed a number of key initiatives that we are investigating, such as the ikusasa Student Financial Aid Program, which is aimed at assisting the missing middle and which will be piloted at 6 universities and 1 TVET college this year. The pilot program will fund the studies of about 1,500 students studying in a number of general formative degrees, as well as 7 professional qualifications and 1 artisan qualification for the duration of their studies. Funding to enable the pilot has been sourced mostly from the private sector. Ladies and gentlemen, although 2016 was yet another challenging year for the higher education sector, many South Africans were gratified to note the minimal disruptions to study programs at our TVET colleges, while there is a campaign by SABC for a shutdown. The concerns and issues they raised with me in the memorandum are legitimate. We want to say that. While they have the right to protest and bring their issues to the fore, they should do so responsibly without violence and intimidation and without the disruption to staff and students who wish to start their 2017 academic year. I must say that I have received many reports, I must say that I have not received any reports with regards to any violence or intimidation, including any harm to person or destruction of any property, and I must commend SABC for this. We have identified the issues they raised, and we are working tirelessly to ensure that the issues under our control are speedily being attended to. Where there is a lack of adequate budget to deal with infrastructure funding and expansion of the student enrollment, government as a whole is trying to find relief in these trying times economically. The lack of disruptions in the TVET system last year was not only most welcome, it was an indication of the seriousness with which all the key stakeholders in our colleges, including students, approach their core business of empowering the next generation of young people with practical skills. This bodes well for the South African economy as well as the future of our young democracy. The mandate of the Department of Higher Education and Training is to develop a skilled and capable workforce that can contribute to a sustainable and inclusive growth path for our country. And the TVETs are crucial to this task. And also we must just explain at this point that TVET colleges are not aimed at absorbing students who cannot be taken at universities. That's a wrong way of actually understanding TVET colleges. We want to make TVET colleges institutions of choice because they offer skills that cannot be acquired anywhere else other than through these colleges. So some people tend to say, well, all those who have not been admitted to university, then to TVET colleges. There are many, many youngsters who do not want to go to university, who would like to actually go and acquire a particular practical skill at a college. Our task as government is to work to upgrade these colleges such that they are able to respond appropriately in this regard. Unfortunately, we as South Africans have in recent times often focused disproportionately on our universities instead of giving appropriate attention to the entire post-school education and training sector, and TVET colleges in particular, as I have outlined. Indeed, our 50 public TVET colleges are vital national assets which empower the next generations with very practical skills and knowledge. They make a vital contribution to the ability of our economy to be competitive. This is despite the fact that they currently face a number of real challenges. By the way, many more than the challenges we are facing at universities, including funding, challenges we are taking very seriously as we move to ensure a unified national approach to our TVET colleges. This is because it is only in the last 2 years that the TVETs have been managed and directed on a consistent national platform. You may recall that it is only fairly recently that the department has taken responsibility at national level for the TVET and further education sector, because it was previously part of the provincial education competence. Though we started right from 2009 when our department was formed to begin to make some interventions there. Bringing the sector into a centrally managed and guided framework was a very important step towards ensuring that we create and sustain real and viable alternatives to a university course for those young people who want to gain a post-school skill, but who may either have not achieved a university pass or who may not have the inclination, as I have said, to pursue a course of academic study. What we inherited was a mix of colleges, with some provinces having managed their college sector better than others, in ensuring that the sector could at one and the same time be expanded to accommodate the many thousands of previously excluded young people, while ensuring that new entrants receive the kind of training and support which could ready them with skills the job market is looking for. Frankly, some of the provinces had not done well at all. And here and there we were confronted with a real mess. In some places, we are still in the process of ensuring that the right procedures are used when processing students, and we are aware that some institutions need further help to get on track, for example, in ensuring that students who qualify also receive their certificates quickly, because those certificates are the passport to the future for those young people who have put great effort into getting themselves qualified. Ladies and gentlemen, we recently received a list of grievances from the body representing TVET students, SABC. We take this list and the students' bodies very seriously. Over and above the current initiatives being implemented to improve the quality of teaching and learning at TVET colleges, I have requested the Director General to set up an intervention task team to speed up the process in those colleges which are still lagging, and important announcements in this regard will be made in the next few weeks. We are determined not to let the situation go on for longer than is absolutely necessary. In addition, I have instructed the department to immediately convene an ongoing TVET forum which will bring student representatives, college administrations, and senior officials from our department to the table. The aim is to ensure open, frank, and effective channels of communication and an ability to resolve challenges quickly, effectively, and sustainably. There is nothing in the memorandum we have received from SABC that cannot be resolved with a bit of goodwill and determination by the TVET colleges, of course supported by our department. Moreover, for that reason, I'm today inviting the students to be a part of this effort to get things right. The government's commitment to the higher education cause is demonstrated in part by the substantial increases in funding to NSFAS since 2010. We remain committed to finding the resources to support the children of all poor working class and middle class families in their quest to better their lives and those of their families through skills acquisition. For example, and as already alluded to above, I announced last year that all students who come from households with a combined income of less than 600,000 rands per annum will experience a no-fee increase for 2017, which would cover about 75% of university students, and some universities, more than 90% of the students will be covered, as well as in many colleges. This is one example of the issues raised by SAFETA, and the answer is very clear. Yes, the moratorium on fee rises up to 8% for 2017, and also 0% increase for the categories that we have outlined will also apply to TVET colleges. It's definitely not just for universities. This will bring huge relief to factory workers, miners, nurses, teachers, police, social workers, and other working families in occupations that do not earn huge salaries and who have children at colleges and universities. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made significant progress, and we continue to make significant strides in expanding access to higher education for the poor through NSFAS. This system, for all its challenges, has funded more than 1.7 million students since 1994. Last year alone, NSFAS supported about 480,000 poor undergraduate students to access TVET colleges and universities, dispersing loans and bursaries totaling 14 billion rands. This figure will rise to 15.2 billion rands this year. As the medium-term budget policy statement made clear, the government will provide an additional 9 billion rands for NSFAS over the 3-year period ahead. In addition, most importantly, NSFAS will be funding more than 200,000 first-time and continuing students at TVET colleges in 2017. That, by anybody's standards, is a massive amount of money and shows the high priority that this government is giving to further and higher education. It makes very clear the extent to which we are emphasizing TVET education as a path to the future for young people. Again, we have also made arrangements to pay the registration fees for all NSFAS-funded students upfront to TVET colleges and universities every year from now onwards. This means that NSFAS qualifying students will have a much easier time registering and starting their courses each year. Government has also addressed the issue of historic debt of NSFAS qualifying students who were registered in 2016 and who were successful in their studies, but who have accumulated debt with their institutions of higher education. They will all be allowed to register in 2017. You may also be interested to know that as a result of our efforts, a recent Stats SA report showed that South Africa is empowering ever more young people through post-school education and training. Indeed, there have never in our history been more young people studying in our TVET colleges than today. Moreover, never before have so many students had their fees paid by government. Nevertheless, our efforts do not stop at fees support, because money alone will not solve all our problems that we face. In pursuit of our mandate to increase access to and success in TVETs and to transform them into institutions of choice, 3 new campuses will come into operation this year, including the Tabazimbi campus of the Waterberg TVET College in Limpopo, the Bambanani campus at Umfolozi TVET College in KwaZulu-Natal, and the Nkandla A campus at Umfolozi TVET College in KwaZulu-Natal. On the critical matter of student houses at TVET colleges, our 2015 survey of the 50 public colleges showed that for the 710,000 students at the time, there were only 10,120 beds. This means that colleges could only provide accommodation for about 1.4% of their students. That is 1 in 70 students. The department is implementing a program to fast-track the delivery of student accommodation in the post-school system over the next 10 years. Feasibility studies at 12 institutions, 10 universities and 2 TVET colleges are underway to develop financial models to enable funding affordable student housing. The department aims to add 300,000 beds at universities and TVET colleges over the next 10 years through different financial models supported by private investments. Of course, we will need improved ways of procuring these projects worth billions of rands, and we will not tolerate corruption, collusion, or maladministration. In relation to the November 2016 examinations, results for the entire TVET sector were published and released to all examination centers on the 31st of December 2016. Currently, there are 8,224 subject results out of 2,177 subject entries outstanding, representing 0.4% of all subject entries. And this is attributable to a low capture rate by Examination Center for Internal Continuous Assessment, an integrated summative assessment task and/or examination marks, an absent code submitted Examination Center instead of a valid raw mark, and data processing efforts errors on the examinations IT system. The department's National Examinations Unit will be following up with individual examination centers to verify and resolve the outstanding marks for the November 2016 examinations. Each college is responsible for the submission of marks, as it is at the examination centers of a college that all marks are generated and captured along with examination marks for the National Certificate Vocational Level 2 and 3 qualifications and N1 part qualifications. During my meeting with the South African College Principal Association or Organization earlier this week, college principals committed to respond urgently to requests for verification and submission of outstanding marks. A further 54,561 subject results, which is 2.7% of total subject entries, remained blocked on the system due to the examination paper leakages reported in 4 subjects. The department concluded its investigation this week and will be in a position to release these results only after the Quality Council Umalus has considered the report and approved the release of these results. Other results blocked due to acts of dishonesty like copying, use of crypt notes, ghostwriting, etc., affect 1,298 candidates, which is 0.2 of the total, out of the total of 842,772 candidates that enrolled to write the November 2016 examinations. The outcome of the investigation into each individual incident will determine whether the result will remain blocked or be released. The State Information Technology Agency has admitted as much that its information technology system is not functioning optimally, all of which impacts on the release of the results to institutions, as they are the agency that is responsible for certificates, production of certificates. In a meeting held yesterday between management from the department and the SETA, SETA is committed to providing the department with a functioning IT system to resolve all resulting and certification challenges. In terms of the agreement with SETA, all outstanding results for the November 2016 examinations will be resolved by the 28th of February 2017, and all certificates for the November 2016 examinations will be processed by the 31st of March 2017. The department has been instrumental in reducing the certification backlog for the National Certificate Vocational Levels 2, 3, and 4 qualifications from 236,821 in August 2015 to 973 outstanding certificates. Indeed, this has been a huge effort on our part because we know this is a matter that's worrying many parents and many students. SETA is also committed to resolve all outstanding certificates for earlier examination cycles in order to deal with those students who passed some years ago but still do not have their certificates. Finally, I want to reiterate my call to formations representing students at TVET colleges to engage constructively in discussion with both my department and college administrations and to strengthen efforts to resolve their many legitimate issues. Our doors and our ears are open, and we are determined to find solutions together with you. Please do not also forget that while everyone has the constitutional right to protest peacefully, the equally important right of those who wish to continue with teaching and learning unhindered and without intimidation must also at all times be respected. We also wish to say to the students, as I said earlier, it's not money alone that will solve our problems. We also require a determination and increased efforts on their part to study and work hard and to pass and to aim as much as is possible to finish their programs within the prescribed time frames. Some of the issues facing our colleges can be dealt with in the short term, particularly if we all display goodwill and a willingness to engage. But whether we like it or not, many others will require time to solve. And I'm calling for patience, understanding, and ongoing engagement and dialogue as we work together to resolve these challenges. Thank you very much, and sorry for a long statement. But we are trying our best to give you as much information as is possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We'll go straight into the Q&A session. But before I do that, I just want to share with you quick housekeeping rules that please could our media colleagues avoid being too verbose with their questions, and if you can, stick to at least one question. Time is of essence. I will be taking questions in batches. We'll start with the current venue, and then the next batch will take from the Cape Town Imbizo Media Center and Parliament. I will start from the top, moving down. Please introduce yourself and the organization that you are representing. Starting with the lady at the back, and then I'll follow with the gentleman in black and the gentleman in a white T-shirt, the gentleman in a blue and a black shirt will be the fourth. And then the fifth one will be a gentleman at the back with the blue sweater, and I'll end up with the gentleman in a black shirt. I'll start with you, ma'am. Yes, I'll start with you right at the top.
Okay, thank you. Megan from Engineering News. Minister, my question to you is, you mentioned that there are a couple of issues from SABC's side, but the only issue mentioned is that of the funding. Can you give us, shed some light on the other issues that were mentioned in the memorandum? Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. I'll come to you, sir, in the black shirt.
Thank you. Jacques Predrag from Kijknet Verslag. I'd just like to find out, Minister, do you expect fees must fall protests to pick up again? And if so, what arrangements have been made to ensure the safety of both non-protesting students as well as university staff and property? Thank you.
Thank you, Jacques. I think you'll be next, sir, at the corner there.
Good morning, Minister. Anton Meyer from Pretoria FM. Minister, can you confidently say that no NSFAS student will be turned away at the university or a TVET college because of registration fees? You said that NSFAS already paid 1.3 billion rand to the 26 universities. Just on that, When was this paid to the universities? Thank you.
Thank you, Anton. Yes, sir.
This one? There we go. Good morning, Minister, and to the panel. Barry Bateman, Eyewitness News. Just two quick questions. And I apologize if I missed this in the statement. SABC did indicate that they were going to engage in a shutdown. Has there been any, you spoke about there was no intimidation, but has there been any actual shutdown of any of our TVETs, and is this ongoing, or is there some agreement that's been reached in the interim? And then just a question related to the University of Pretoria. There's been some concern from some students that the university has asked students facing criminal charges, pending criminal matters, to motivate why they should be allowed to re-register. Is this something that has been brought to your attention? Is it a concern, this kind of practice being implemented by the institution? Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. I'll end with you. Sir.
Good day, Sipho Stilman from SABC TV News. A couple of questions to Minister. Let's talk about the Ikusasa funding program that you're piloting this year. Just how much has been allocated to it, and if you can name for us these institutions that are involved for the pilot program, and when do you see yourself, implementing this fully going forward? And also the issue of TVET colleges. You mentioned that you found some in a real mess. Just tell us exactly what do you mean by the real mess, and to what extent, how much does it cover of the 50 colleges that we have? If you can just give us a bit of clarity there. And just to finally, to add on to what my colleague's question around whether, do you anticipate another, fees must fall protest this year, because some of these announcements you've made here are some of the issues that are already in the public, and that did not stop the students from protesting last year. And we are seeing that even UNISA currently is having protests, but that's relating to staff matters. So it seems that there's still ongoing instability at our institutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sipho. Over to the panel, Minister.
Yeah, thank you. Other members of the panel will help me with some detail where detail is required. Look, there are a number of other issues that SABC is raising, which are issues which are legitimate. I'll just give you a few more examples. The issue, for instance, of poorly qualified lecturers, it's a very valid concern. You find someone with an N6 diploma teaching N6 students. You also find that there are lecturers who have no practical experience whatsoever. Those are some of the realities that we inherited, and they are quite legitimate. And there are things that we are doing to try and address those. For example, we have now partnered with some universities as the department to start offering dedicated lecturer qualifications for TVET college lecturers, something that has not been there before. Of course, it's not something that we can solve in a year. That's going to take time, but we've actually started that process. So what SABC is raising is valid in that regard. The other matter that they are raising very strong is infrastructure, which is not only just accommodation, but also the state of their lecture halls and so on, because there has been no money for a very long time for maintenance, for instance, or for expansion. That is what we are working at as a department at the moment, that just like we have with universities, each year we have got an infrastructure allocation. We also want to work towards that insofar as colleges are concerned, although we have started. For instance, with the 3 new college campuses that we are opening this year, there are also 8 more that are actually in the pipeline. But that's far, far, far less than what we need. We really need huge government investment. And we hope that, by the way, the ANC policy conference this year is going to help us a lot in terms of making some unambiguous commitment to expand the TVET college sector. So those are some of the other issues that SABC is raising, which we agree with, which are valid. It's very difficult to answer the question on whether we expect protests this year or not. We're hoping that there won't be protests. But also at the same time, we are preparing ourselves that if there are protests, we must be able to ensure that there is ongoing dialogue and that there is no destruction of property, and that university management have got responsibility to secure university property so that it is not vandalized and so on. Indeed, we are aware that no matter what we do as government, there are those who have identified student protests as part of their political agenda to fight government. It's very clear to us that even if today I can wake up and say all higher education is free, they will find some other reason to actually protest. We are hoping that though everyone would have used 2017 to give our institutions some stability. I need to say this, because this is the year in which we hope this issue of fees will be addressed in one way or the other. The commission that is dealing with fees is reporting this year, and there are other initiatives that government has taken, which we hope they will all be finalized so that at least maybe a lasting solution will be pronounced. We would call everybody that let's give that a chance, because the year 2017 is actually the year to do that. We also concerned as government that our system actually cannot be able to afford the kinds of disruptions that we've had. That has got the potential of causing fatal damage to our higher education system, to our public higher education system. Already we are told that the applications to private higher education institutions have shot up this year, significantly more than at any other time. Some parents, rich parents, are beginning to send their children overseas. Some of academics who have accepted appointments in South African universities, they are turning them down because they see the system as being very unstable. Some governments, for instance, from the continent who have been sending their students to South Africa, they are diverting them now to other countries. And that would be a pity, because our public higher education system has got such a good continental and global reputation. That is why we say to everybody, we must transform but not destroy our system, because I'm concerned that if you look at the African continent as a whole now, today, it's predominantly private universities. Now, you often then have two types of private higher education institutions. You will have very good ones, and they're expensive, and they're inaccessible to the poor. And then you have fly-by-night, which is where the poor goes. With poor degrees, they don't get employed anyway. So we hope that student leadership that is genuinely concerned about our public higher education system will make sure that we don't harm and damage our system, because that would be disastrous for the children of the poor and the working class once our public higher education system is broken. So we're hoping that this year at least we will get a break to say, okay, 2017 is the year, then let's see if then we are able to work together to find a lasting solution. So that would be my response to that. Yes, Anton, I can guarantee you that no admitted NSFAS students will be turned away because he or she can't pay registration fees. That I absolutely can vouch for. If you happen to pick up any institution that is turning away NSFAS, please bring that to our attention, because we'll act. Because that will be against our policy and prescriptions and the kinds of arrangements that we have made. Maybe the Chief Information Officer of NSFAS, when I finish here, will come in with the exact detail as to when were the monies paid, but we know that they've actually been paid. So I will skip that one. Some colleges have been affected, but very few that have been affected, Barry. At colleges at this point in time. We hope that the situation doesn't get worse. As we have said, we are willing to engage. In fact, we have been engaging with SAFETSA. At no stage, the last meeting we had was in November last year. And it also had a workshop with the department to go through each of these issues which they've been raising. And now as I've said, we've set up these intervention task teams and would like the students to be part of those. Of course, not at the expense of their studies. University of Pretoria, look, each institution, maybe Professor Bauer would like to come in at some stage, after I have finished here. We have said each institution must actually make sure that it is able to deal with the challenges that it faces, including how to deal with students who are facing criminal charges. Because university institutions can't turn a blind eye to the fact that there are students who are facing very, very serious charges. But how they deal with those, each institution has got its own mechanism to deal with that. Stearman, ISFAP is a pilot, the USASA Student Financial Aid Program. We have only published its recommendations for public comment and debate. We have not as yet responded to that as government. And also, ISFAP has been presented before the judge in the Fees Commission, Judge Hare. And out of all those processes, then will come out a set of proposals that government will have to respond to. I can't preempt that now as to what government may or may not say. Well, I think partly I have answered, because your question about the mess we are talking about is what I have already spoken to. That is also in SAFETSA memo, which includes the issue of unqualified lecturers, the issue of poor infrastructure, but much more seriously also, some colleges had very poor governance systems and with no procedures, whether very poor, weak procedures, including management of finances and management of human resources. And there are certain measures that we have taken to actually assist that. But we are not saying that by way of condemning those colleges, because many of them were really facing difficulties. The chronic difficulties that has been faced by colleges is underfunding. We are not, of course, saying it's money only that is a problem, but underfunding. And that is still the situation now. And I can tell you now, if government does not increase funding to colleges, we're going to face enormous problems. Because I'm worried right now that many students are being turned away from the colleges because they are full already. 710, 750,000 around there is far from enough in terms of catering from potential students who should be at the colleges, because that's part of the mess we inherited. A very small system, because as a country we had this hugely inappropriate orientation exclusively directed towards universities. No country does what we are doing. No country ever in the world does what we've been doing. If we were to be self-critical, that we did not actually pay attention to expansion of colleges, which is where we take many of our young people. What is it that am I leaving now? I wrote something in half here, still ongoing, but then I didn't know what. I couldn't remember what was being said. Or names of institutions under ISFAP. Who has that? You have that, DJ? Or you have it here? Okay. You will be able to talk to that. Maybe you come in and then other colleagues, if they want to pick up on some of the issues, please do come in.
Just a quick one on the issue with the ISFAP organizations. I think we can provide that from communications. I will liaise that with Dirman.
Yes, but provided or not only to the person who asked the question, to everyone.
Absolutely. Were there any questions that we feel that we were left, DG?
No,
that you need to pick up?
Is it working? Yeah. No, the institutions for pilot of ISFAP is University of Venda, VETS, Pretoria, TUT, Orbit, TVET College, and the UKZN, UCT as well. And the Ministerial Task Team report has been gazetted for public comments. SR says in all institutions and all structures as well as stakeholders have been given, and we really welcome their contributions in enriching that document as it is being piloted at the present moment. No, thanks, Minister.
Thank you. I think we'll leave the auditorium momentarily.
No, there are still some colleagues who want to answer here.
Because I see hands going up already, so I thought that there will be follow-ups. But if there are any questions that need that need, maybe Richard.
So the agreement has been made with those institutions for an amount for upfront fees that will be paid. If the money hasn't already left our bank accounts, the agreements are that that will be paid upfront now to cover off registration fees, but also to cover off, in some universities and in some cases, initial allowances, for example, for books, so that students, as soon as they've registered, will have access to those funds.
May I just say a few things? Thank you, Minister. Minister spoke about unqualified lecturers that are in colleges, and which I think SAFETA also raised to that. Maybe one needs to give a background to say colleges are a kind of institution that needs a very rare combination of lecturers. You need somebody who's an artisan, at the same time somebody who is a lecturer or who has a qualification of teaching. And those are always very rare combination. And if you take history back, so there are provinces that used to allow, who had relaxed measures to allow colleges to employ a person with a trade test and an N6 who is an artisan, but only for workshop purposes, not to be standing in a classroom to lecture. And I think that's where the disparity came in. But presently, industry or employers came in very handy because we are able to place lecturers in a workplace over a period of time who are not artisans in order to get that experience. But at the same time, as SACPO, we got funding from ETDP-SETA to be training lecturers that are not qualified with UNISA. We started 2 years ago and it is ongoing. And I'm quite aware of colleges that are also doing with UNISA and at the same time with University of Free State. And that is to enhance the quality, simply to say the sector is really not collapsing. And the Minister also spoke about a number of good things that are happening in colleges. If one has to mention, we are piloting the dual system with GIZ. There are a few colleges that are doing that. And if I tell you, as I'm speaking now, we've got lecturers in Germany that are on training, and their students are in a workplace. For instance, I've got students that are in Ekurhuleni Metropolitan, that are in Siemens always, there for a period of 3 months, then after 3 months, they go back to classroom. We are also doing artisan development with a number of SETAs, including the MER SETAs. So these are a lot of things that we are doing, and we're able to place students in the workplace. I know SAFETA has complained about students not receiving stipend, but there are SETAs that are assisting in paying stipends for the students. The Ekurhuleni Metro, for an argument's sake, is also assisting. We also have companies that are assisting in paying stipends. there are challenges, yes, about examination. Maybe one should also allude to say, I don't think there is a department that runs so many exams like our department, especially in the TVET sector. If one has to say we run 6 exams over a period of a year, and that is where the challenge, one think, might be coming from. But we're happy to say the minister has announced a strategic committee under the DG, which will sit and try to streamline, the challenges within the exams, and with clear timelines. And would want to believe maybe certificates would also follow on that. One person even said, why can't we learn from Home Affairs, which produce death certificates, whatever the kind of. We hope with that we would be able to survive in that. If I have to stop there, if there's any other thing, one would pick it up. Thank you.
Thanks, Ma'am Tlhatlhe. Yes, Prof.
Thank you very much. Again, Minister, thank you so much for inviting us here and being on your panel. I just want to mention that we had a meeting with the Minister, I think it was about a week ago, and it was, as usual, it's kind of a tough but constructive meeting, and I think that a lot of clarity was emerged in that meeting. From my point of view, at least, I think the most important thing that has emerged this year, which is new, is the fact that, is the declaration, in fact, that every NSFAS qualifying student who's admitted to a university will have his or her cost of studies kind of covered. That's a very big new development, and I think that it really does indicate kind of this a new approach, if you like, to addressing the issue of education for the poor. I just want to indicate that, DUT itself last year, just as one institution, which I was Vice Chancellor there, that's why I know this number, there was something like 3,300 students who fell into that category. And those students have all been picked up into the system to continue with their studies this year. So that's a huge development. And of course, the big challenge for us now is really to, first of all, to kind of measure whether the pilot, the ISFAP pilot, is going to work or not. But secondly, it's just to come to grips with the fact that there are so many new interventions. I mean, the Presidential Commission is making its findings heard in June, July this year. There's a new, there'll be a new policy on, possibly a new policy on regulation of the regulation of fees, tuition fees. Then there's the whole process of trying to understand how to address the issue of increasing accommodation and so on. So there are a range of new processes in place, I think, which over the next year to 2 years might put us in a very different position from the position we are in at the moment. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Prof. I think we've covered largely most of the issues that were raised in the first batch. But I just want to take this opportunity to welcome our Cape Town journalist colleagues. And I don't have the benefit of the monitors here, so I can't see how many you are there. I was told that there's about 5 of you there. So just improvise in terms of the order of questions. And if we could just stick to the rules that we talked about earlier, just stick to at least one question and try to be as straight and to the point as you can. I hope you can hear me. Hello, Cape Town.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, please introduce yourself and the organization that you represent.
Prince.
Good morning, I'm Jenny Evans from News 24. This question is for Minister Nzimande. Could you please tell us more about the organizations or people you've identified that are using the protests to disrupt government's work? Thank you.
Good morning, Minister, and everybody on the panel. I'm Llewellyn Prince from Netwerk 24. Minister, I just want to find out, in the recent meetings that you had with all stakeholders in the sector, did you also meet with President Jacob Zuma? And if so, can you just enlighten us on what the outcomes of that meeting was? Thank you.
That will be all, Chair. Back to you.
Oh, is that it? Okay. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Thank you very much. Should we take maybe two more on the floor if there are any follow-ups? I'll start this time moving up. I'll start with you, sir, and then I'll be followed by you, Mr. Stirman, and then you, gentlemen on your right, and I will take these three and then we'll come back. Or I'll start with you, Sipho, and the gentleman there, and then I'll come back for a third session. Let's go.
Bongani Nkosi from the Sowetan. Minister, correctly so, you sound quite critical of the fact that government is not funding the TVET colleges adequately. But I'm just wondering, who exactly in government are you apportioning this criticism to? Because you represent that government. So the question becomes, behind closed doors, what has happened? What has caused this situation that colleges are not getting enough from the government? What have you done behind closed doors? And to the NSFAS Chief Operations Officer, there's still scores of prospective students who have not received their SMSs, that they've been funded or not, especially the first years. And we know that you've introduced a new system, the central application system. Students no longer apply with the universities, but they have to apply, the applications must go all the way to Cape Town. Is this an indication that the central application system is failing? Because last year, when people were still applying through the universities, by this time, they would know exactly if they are going to be funded or not. Is your central application system failing?
Thanks, Bongani. Sipho?
Sipho from SABC again. My question is directed to Ustembiso Ndlovu from the Student Union. I'm just trying to understand, are you now one with the department and what the minister has announced here, especially the fact that he said, the system cannot afford any more disruptions, and saying that we also must await the outcomes of the Fees Commission. I remember when we had the first session of the Fees Commission, you were one of the first people to come and give submissions, and you pronounced that you had no confidence in the commission. Has that changed, seeing that you are with the minister here today? And Minister, you mentioned that the system cannot afford any more disruptions, and that South African governments are diverting students away. Do you have any more information, or to what extent is our system taking hits as a result of this 2-year Fees Must Fall protest? Thanks.
Thank you.
Sipho Mabena for the Times newspaper. Minister, just on two issues that emerged during this week's submissions at the Fees Commission, particularly the submission by the Statistician General Balele Hotla. The first issue that he raised was the black Africans that are not succeeding in universities. In fact, he said the 1980s cohort was better off than the current cohort because now for every one black graduate that succeed at the university, there are 6 white graduates that succeed. Then the second issue is the concern with the TVET colleges. He actually referred to them as counterproductive. He said this because the unemployment rate amongst the TVET graduates was higher than that of university graduates, asking the questions of what then are these colleges producing in the country that has a deficit of the technical skills. So if you could just weigh on these two concerns that were raised at the Fees Commission, Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Sipho. Over to the panel.
Look, there are many interests that have emerged around the Fees Must Fall. Some are political organizations like the EFF. Others are some ultra-left expatriate academics who seem to be experimenting. Some of them were part of the instability in Rustenburg, in the Platinum Belt, that we've actually identified as common denominator. Well, there possibly are a range of people who are seeing this, some political parties who may be dying, who are seeing this as an opportunity to revive themselves. I can't say anything more than that. The strength of the students' campaigns, raising legitimate issues about institutional transformation, about the issue of access, unfortunately, in some instances, have been hijacked by people who have even been willing to use violence. Now, there's one thing I haven't said that, by the way, our system can't afford. We are still counting now. But my suspicion is that we are possibly at R1 billion worth of damage to university infrastructure. We cannot afford that. We simply cannot afford that. Now, when we raise this with student leaders, they say, well, we are being provoked, and so on and so on. To me personally, I must say, that is unacceptable. If you are being provoked, why then go and ban a library? And ban in Mahikeng a state-of-the-art science laboratory? Destroy it, razed to the ground, and all that. Now, students say, well, here is the SG here. It's not us who are doing that. It's hooligans. Fine. But then how do you make sure that you advance your protest in a manner that hooligans do not exploit it to actually destroy property? So there is what I'm saying that it can't afford. We can't afford that. But also what we cannot afford is to drive rich parents away from our public institutions. That would be a serious, serious shortfall, because we need their money in order also to subsidize poor students, for that matter. Also, what is even more dangerous is to destroy the credibility of South Africa's public higher education system. That is even more serious. When parents begin to lose confidence, especially those who can afford to pay, but not only those who can afford to pay, and others. I have already outlined this thing that already now we are being approached by private higher education institutions who want to register because they are seeing a gap that, yeah, with the public system being in trouble, now we have space to actually come in. So we are saying to all those who are genuinely concerned about our public higher education system, they must take that into consideration. I would not like to go down as having been a minister who presided over a higher education system that got destroyed. But it's not about my personal legacy, it's about government. It's not Nzimande myself as a person, as such. Yes, of course, I do meet with the president fairly often. The last time I met with the president was last week to go and brief him about the state of readiness. Some of the things that I've spoken to you about last time and today, that's what I've been briefing the president about. Where are we in terms of universities, in terms of NSFAS, TVET colleges, what's going on, and so on and so on and so on. And also, of course, highlight what are some of the challenges, as I have actually done with you. So those are the kinds of discussions I've been having with the president, so that at all times he is aware of what is going on and what the challenges are. Of course, we are aware that the president has established an interministerial committee which is led by Minister Khateb to assist in this regard and to engage, which includes the security ministers, the Minister of Finance, and so on, and the Minister of Science and Technology, amongst some of the ministers who are actually part of that. Bongani, I'm not blaming. I know we are preparing now your story. Nzimande blames government. I'm saying as government we must take collective responsibility as this government to say, and in particular the African National Congress as the ruling party, to say we need collectively to actually expand. It's already there in our policies, but that needs to translate into something concrete. I'm not lamenting. or blaming the rest of government, except one thing I'm willing to say, that part of the reasons why we are here is because our own government in the 1990s followed a problematic economic policy called GEAR. If you ask me, sitting as a minister, this is part of the price we are paying. Because one of the things that GEAR did was not to fund higher education adequately. We are paying the price now. Some of us were raising this at that time and say, okay, we are saving money, but what would be the social debt into this? I'm willing to be open and actually take that one of the dangers of having experimented with neoliberal policies was that one of the biggest sufferers in all that economic policy, which some in the media, by the way, were supporting, is underfunding of higher education. We grew the system, which is very good in numbers, but we didn't match it with infrastructure and funding of the main system itself. But now I'm part of government. We must take collective responsibility for the situation in which we are in. By the way, in government, it's generally agreed. The issue is when and how do we release the resources to be able to address this? Because our white paper has been adopted by government, and our white paper emphasizing this issue of TVET colleges. Normally, it's not usual for one part of government to differ with another part. But I disagree very strongly with the statistician general when he says students in the 1980s were much better than students now. I was a student in the early 1980s at university. I was doing my postgraduate studies. There is absolutely no comparison from where we were at that time and now. I was a student from 1976. I lost that year. I'm talking from experience, not from theory or studying numbers. I'm talking from personal experience. I was nearly expelled at university in September 1977 because I couldn't pay 100 rands, my last installment. And there was no NSFAS. Coincidentally, I was given a loan by the Dean of Students then, who happened to be Professor Beng, who was our first Minister of Education. That's how I survived. Otherwise, I would not have gotten assistance anyway, unlike today. And the numbers, yes, the participation rate of black youth in universities is still far from adequate. I don't have the figures with me. You can get that, I suppose, in our website. But there's been an increased participation and production of black graduates in South Africa. That's why even the very same Stats SA actually shows that in 2009, when our department started, there were just under 10% over 20 South Africans who were over 20 years of age, who had a tertiary qualification. Today is chasing 15%. That tells you that there is a difference that has been made by government. I don't know. I don't agree with this. I really do not agree with this. And also government officials must avoid making political statements that they can't take responsibility for. Now, look, yes, we are raising another thing that has been raised by SAFETA, which also Utishom Ntlantlang next to me here raised. The issue of employability of TVET college graduates. We can't say, because there is a real challenge there, then it's counterproductive to actually say to students they must go to TVET colleges. I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optimist. That is why, as this department, we are doing so much to ensure, because one, the main way to improve employability of TVET college graduates is work placement. Those who have had work placements, they become successful, they get employed. That is why we are moving together. We've said to the sitters, prioritize placement of TVET college graduates or students. Because if we do that, already there's beginning to be some positive changes. That is why I think, by the way, DG, we will need to invite the media to visit some of our colleges so that you can go and see for yourselves what are the strengths that are their weakness. For instance, Ekurhuleni West, where she is principal, there are amazing programs. The motor and diesel mechanics who are being trained in Tembisa, in that township, more than 90% of them, they actually get employed. In a township, in a TVET college. I would like you to go and see Tembisa. It's amazing. Also, some of the artisans are the ones who are at SAA. They have a partnership with SAA. They fix the aeroplanes. You know the aeroplanes, when they land, you go and see these people who run around and checking if everything is okay. There are students from TVET College there who subsequently, many of them, get employed. Emperor's Palace, Intercontinental, many of those youngsters who are interns are from our colleges in Ekurhuleni, for instance. So the fact that there are these challenges must not blind us to some of the advances. The challenge, how do we build on the advances we've made in order to turn the system around? Other colleges do not have that advantage like Ekurhuleni West, for instance. Because where they are deep in Tabankulu. Well, there isn't a college teaching, but they want it. But Ingwe, some of the rural colleges, they really have challenges because there are no workplaces. There are very few, if any. It's your municipalities and so on. How do we deal with those challenges that we need to? Also, we mustn't talk as if the problem starts now. We also inherited unequal colleges from apartheid. Technical high schools and technical colleges for black South Africans, they were simply just not up to scratch. And it's many of them, by the way, even today, who are still battling, despite some of the attempts we've made to actually address those. DG, you want to come in?
Minister, thanks, Minister. Is it on? Yeah, thank you. No, I want to come in, especially in this question of employability of TVET college graduates. My plea would be that we need to afford ourselves, perhaps in the first instance, to read quite closely all research outputs that are out there by various institutions. For instance, in this regard, SACI in 2016, they conducted tracer studies in respect to NCV graduates from our TVET colleges. And they came up with the findings that 73% of those students, they get employment. And 6% of them, they are in self-employed activities. And if you look also in the report by Statistician General, is actually saying the post-school education and training system in the country at the present moment is empowering more youth than ever before. Stats SA is in that report. I think those are the things that we need to actually look at and read them quite closely. You will recall, amongst many of the communications and engagements that the minister normally have, especially with the media, the enrollments in universities, by 2014, they were around 837,000. To date, it's over 1 million across. And the participation rate has actually increased up to 20% of our youth from just around 23.
report of that fees commission of 8 pages and so on and so forth. So nothing has changed. Us being with the minister here does not mean that, because I know people of the media now, they will want to say the union is in the pocket of the department. It is not possible. We're here with the minister because he's going to give a briefing of meetings that we also form part of to affirm some of the things that are said. And part of the things that we discussed with the minister was our frustration with the NSFAS system. And that is very slow, and it is going to lead to a situation wherein most of our first-year students are not going to be able to register on a basis that registration is going to close before NSFAS can accept them. And those are the things that we have raised with the minister. And ministers assured us of the meeting of the 31st of January, whereby we are going to deal with all these issues in a meeting that is going to involve NSFAS and university vice-chancellors. So not that we have agreed on all the things with the minister. Those that we have not agreed upon, we are still going to deliberate upon them on Monday, on the 31st. Another issue is that the issue of protest in universities. I doubt that DG, it should be only limited to fees only. Instability in universities cannot only be limited to fees. Some of the universities, more especially HDIs, might protest on a basis of a lack of infrastructure in their universities, a lack of security, and so on. There are many issues that university can always find themselves being distracted, and some of the issues are managerial and they do not require the department to intervene on. It's a matter of university officials being hands-on on some of the issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Stembiso. In the absence of any more comments, or Richard, you want to add something?
I would like to.
Maybe I'll come to that. Let's give Richard an opportunity, and then I'll come back.
Yeah, just wanted to. Sorry. Thanks very much. Just wanted to also respond to Bongani's question around the NSFAS system, and that there's some students who haven't yet received notifications. The position at the moment, as of today, is 170,000 students have been notified that they've been provisionally funded subject to registration. And as the results come in from the universities and the remaining college results come in, that number will go up. So, some cases universities haven't actually provided us with final results where they've deferred the exams until January and some into February. Also bearing in mind the applications closed for universities on the 20th of the 1st, and so there's applications that are still being processed that will come through also into that number. I think in terms of the communication challenge, we can never communicate enough, and what we've done there is we've sent obviously emails and SMSs to students, but we've also found that students have changed their SMS numbers, don't access the emails as we would maybe expect them to, and so what we've done there is we've put in place measures that the institutions can now get access to that information. So a university can see on the NSFAS system whether a student has been funded or not, and that information can flow through. And the student can also, if they've got access to the internet, go and look on their own account and see if they've been funded. And that's, the big success of the new model is probably in the fact that 80% of students know that they will be funded if they meet the NSFAS academic criteria, which is to pass 50% of the subjects that they've registered for. And in fact, on social media, we've put out that message quite loud and clear to students that if you are a NSFAS registered student through the department's funding, you will be funded for this year if you've passed 50% of your subjects. So that's a large chunk. It's 80% probably of the student population funded by NSFAS is returning students. And so, on balance, I think we've still got a way to go. The application is only closed for the TVETs on the 14th of February. And we'll just have to keep moving that thing and communicating to students and communicating better to students through our contact center as well, which is also an avenue that students can go through. So it's not ideal. The volumes have been significant, and I think students want to know almost on a daily basis whether they've been funded, which puts even more demand onto the system. But in terms of the main message is 80% of the students will be funded.
Thank you, Richard. This briefing was allocated about an hour in this auditorium, and I'm being told that we already have half an hour over the time limit. So with your permission, Minister, can we take maybe 1 or 2 questions and then we close? Yes. I will just go with the 2 and then we close. Thank you. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aserin Lovu. I'm from Tshwane Capital. Minister,
Tshwane Capital?
Yes, it's a new online newspaper, news publication.
Oh.
Yes, Tshwane Capital. Minister, I heard your speech. It was mostly about the TVET colleges. I want to ask you that what is it? I don't know if maybe the president did ask this question as well, because I think it's very important. If he asked you, maybe you can give us the answer that you gave him. What is it that we have done after the protests that we experienced in the past 2 years that will change? What is it that we have done that will change this year? We understand that you have added the NSFAS money and all those things, but what we know is that NSFAS has been there, but still there were these protests, and especially the free and decolonized education. What is it that we have done to stop the student from protesting specifically on that in universities? Then can I quickly also add this question to SACPO? There's an issue in town, in Pretoria, there's this issue of unregistered institutions, colleges, that goes hand in hand with the issue of unqualified lecturers. What is it that you are doing? Because they are there, they've been there, but what is it that you are doing? Maybe working together with the department, not sitting just in office. What is it that you go out there and do to see and close down those institutions, because they are still affecting these young people out there? Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that will be the final question. Is there one more? Yes, sir. It disappeared suddenly. Oh, I can't see you, ma'am. Sorry. Let me take you and then say you'll be the last one. Thank you.
Thank you. Slee from Jacaranda FM News. I just wanted clarity, Minister. Is the department saying that you guys are ready for the 2017 year, despite your concerns over maybe looming protests, etc.? Or are you saying that the department is saying that the system is unstable and you're concerned? Just some clarity on that.
You will be the last.
Yeah, yes,
thank you.
Minister, my name is Neo Makwiting from SABC Radio News. My question is also a clarity-seeking one. On the issue of the capping of income to under those earning, the household earning less than 600,000, what will be the position if the household has got more than 2 students at university in that particular year of academic year?
Thank you, Neil.
Can I respond?
What do you, Minister?
Tshwane Capital, you are asking me to summarize the press conference that we had last week, was it? And today, in essence, because you are asking me as if you have not been aware at all of the things that we've been doing. I don't know if I'm correct, the way you are asking. You are asking me to repeat what is it, all the things that we've actually done, but now pretending as if we are asking as if you are the president. Because, firstly, I repeated this today, that money alone is not going to solve the problem. There are many issues raised by students. At the summit we had in 2015, at Tegwini, roads must fall. And we've asked all universities to tell us how do they intend to implement those resolutions at institutional level. dealing with curriculum, dealing with institutional cultures, and so on and so on. That's huge work that we've done there. Some of the universities have come back to us. They're not doing it for us, they are doing it for themselves and for the system. We've said 75% of university students this year are going to experience a no-fee increase. As an interim measure, whilst we are finalizing a long-term solution. And the amounts of money that are contained here from NSFAS and how we are going to ease up the issue of debt for NSFAS students, the issue of upfront payment and so on. I don't know whether you want me to repeat those. That we have said we are doing as part of trying to ease off the pressure on especially poor students. Students from rich families we will not pay for as government. There are those who are demanding that. Pay for everyone. Government is not going to pay for rich students. You ask me for as long as I am a minister, I'm not going to go and convince anyone. And that's not government policy, by the way. Government policy is to fund poor students. Insofar as poor students are concerned, the government has done a lot. There's been a huge relief. We are piloting this ICSASA, because government is committed on finding ways to assist those who are not poor enough, but at the same time cannot afford. The children of police, teachers, and so on, because government is saying there must be a solution to that, so that at least there is no upfront fee payment for them, even if it may be a loan system in the end. Now, of course, there is the presidential process, the commission, the fees commission. And we are engaging with all stakeholders at all times. In fact, next week we're going to start going out to institutions. We intend doing so, like I'm committing you now in front of the media so that those things are arranged. To go and see, I'm worried when I see some of the queues at the universities. UNISA in particular, I see that, as to what is actually going on. Each year, so that, not that I do not know what is happening, but each year you always discover new challenges and new problems if you go out. As government, I want to say, we are committed to the provision of free higher education, at least until undergraduate qualification, for poor and working class students. We're committed to that. The fact that we have not reached that does not mean that we are not committed. But also as government, together with the Minister of Science and Technology, we also committed to expanding grants and scholarships for postgraduate studies. Because we know it's a pipe dream to think that you can have a decolonized higher education system without training new academics. It's a pipe dream. Two things must go together. That's why my worry is that students' protests at the moment, they are almost exclusively focusing on access to undergraduate, which is important. But what about the production of academics? We are getting aging academics. We need to focus on that as well, if we are to be able to change the system. Because it's of no use to have access to a system that still alienates many students, because we are doing very little about that. Let me stop there and urge you to go and read our statements over the last 6 months. That will give you a full picture of what we are doing. Are we ready for 2017 SLE? Yes, we are. For the students that we can accept, we are ready. The system is ready, both colleges and universities. For the numbers that we can absorb, we are ready to do that. We are not saying that there are no glitches. That is why there are these consultations, so that we are able to address glitches. But go tell South Africa through Jacaranda FM that the Minister of Higher Education and Training said, we are ready to absorb the students that we can be able to take. But if you ask me, as a country, we are not able to absorb everyone because our system is not yet large enough. We need to grow it, as I have actually said. But for those students that we can take, we are ready to take them. Now, we have broached this question with our institutions, especially the universities. What happens if a parent who earns more than 600,000 family income, but has got more than one child at an institution? We have said such parents should approach institutions. We have agreed they should approach institutions and say, look, here is my situation. I'm earning 700,000 rands or as a family, but we've got 3 kids. In fact, I was talking to someone day before yesterday. No, not day before yesterday. Yesterday, that I will not name, but you know very well, TG. Has got 3 kids at university. He's earning around R1 million per annum, but has got 3. That's very steep, even for someone who is earning that amount of money. So institutions, they can be approached individually. We can't have a policy that we can prescribe because also institutions may not be the same in terms of their ability to deal with that. But at least we reached that general agreement. Professor Bauer, I think I'm correct on that matter. Yeah.
Thank you, Minister. Dineo, your question was covered also. Okay. Ma'am Tate.
Unregistered colleges. Maybe my response to Tony Capital would be to say, you know, as long as we believe that colleges should be shut down, as long as we believe that there should be instability in public institutions, this kind of colleges will mushroom and fuel. And there's the reason we're here to appeal to say we cannot afford this situation. It has to come to an end. And should we know of any college, obviously it's a matter of SAPS, and we pick them all the time as we see them together with the department. Thank you.
Thanks, Mantate. I believe in the absence of any more questions, I just want to take this opportunity to thank our Honorable Minister, Dr. Blade Nzimande, for steering this ship, DG, Prof. Richard, Mantatling, and Stembiso. Thank you very much for your valuable inputs. And to the general media colleagues, we are inviting you for light snacks in the foyer here on my left-hand side. Thank you.